Okay, there we go. We're live on Facebook at the Elephant and Castle community. Do you know, Halima, I've done this now almost 200 times, and it's the first intro when you're waiting for that live thing to do that I always mess up.
Yeah.
But welcome, Elephant and Castle community. It's Nick from Retribe for our doubleheader live this week. Halima Ferreira once again joining us. Halima, we did have you lined up for bringing in the new year, but unfortunately some circumstances which we'll get into took place. They were some things that I want to get into. I'm sure it was an amazing time. Yeah. Back to the wintry, rainy shores of Blighty now. We're just talking about the weather. But thank you so much for joining me. Happy New Year to you. And to you. Yeah, well, the Happy New Year. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Really good. So happy to be here. Thank you for having me again.
Can you reintroduce yourself to the community? You have been you've been here a couple of times, so just let everybody know who you are and what you do.
So my name is Halima Ferreira, and I'm based in the UK but travel globally. I'm a chef originally, but I'm focusing more on my detox career and a wellness career, gut restoration, working with lifestyle medicine doctors, and focusing on building retreats. So that's kind of my new goal for 2023. Food is medicine, all things wellness, well-being, mental health. Yeah, that's all. It's in my new bubble of 2023 and making things better, impacting lives. If I can, one life a day. That's sort of the goal.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Do you think that we are on an awakening as a human race, or say the Western world, where we have evolved to we have evolved to where we are eating the way we ate for tens of thousands of years, and then all of a sudden now in the last 50, 60 years, we've been shoved heavily into processed food manufacturing and the drive of commodification of food and making people very wealthy at the costs and expenses of people's health, because we no longer eat in a natural way in which these bodies that we have evolved. So I know a lot of people, including myself, I'm very aware of what I'm putting in my body today, but I wasn't 40 years ago or 30 years ago. It just wasn't on the radar. Fast food was just a part of my life, and I loved it. Even to this day, I find myself craving KFC and McDonald's and all the things that sugar and all the things that are not good for me. But it's been a conscious shift where I've thought, the gut, our bodies, the spirituality, the physicality, the mentality is all interconnected, and the fuel that we put into our systems, it's just almost like just people don't have that conscious awareness of the evolution of how we got to where we are. So do you think people are on an awakening and a shift to get in touch with people like yourself?
Very, very much so. I mean, I was in the States last year, October, Nick, and I tell you what, I was horrified. It was so hard for me to shop. One, not finding, it was basic ingredients that we can just find in a grocery store here. That was one thing. The second thing was everything was so processed, so much salt, high sugar, high fat content for everything. Sourcing meat as well. I stuck to kind of Whole Foods and things like that, but even then, it's so limiting. In the UK as well, I'm finding that there's a lot more people understanding and waking up to, yes, we need to change the way we eat. Obesity is a massive problem. I mean, all over Europe, the US, we know this. And educating people, but I think there's a higher circle of this, of where pharmaceutical companies come in, people are sick, so let's feed them medicine, let's give them conventional medicine, which we do need, to treat things. But why don't we align that with eating really well, the nutritional aspect, to also feed your body in a natural way and combine the two? And this is where I'm super excited, working with some lifestyle medicine doctors, and they are in a community and actually helping people with chronic disease, reverse it, treat it, and potentially, really leave them, a lot happier, a lot healthier, and they have so much more knowledge on how to cook for themselves, how to shop, because you'll be surprised. People don't even know how to do a decent grocery shop. and put food together. Some people didn't know what a raspberry was, an aubergine. I mean, for us, it's standard, right? But people were eating tinned peaches, which were, full of sugar and syrup and that kind of thing. And for them, that was normal. That was their intake of fruit. In the States, I was told, well, ketchup's counted as a vegetable, and I was horrified. So I think there really is a shift. I think there are a lot of us that, I have 2 chronic autoimmune conditions. So, I'm maybe a little bit more awake than others, wanting to really shift from conventional medicine to healing naturally, which I've been very successful with. And I think for me, that's the joy of trying to help other people, because when you go, to a doctor and you get diagnosed, okay, you're obese, or you've got a heart condition, or you've been diagnosed with a chronic illness, you get diagnosed, you get put on medication, but there's no aftercare, there's no support. And I think this is where I come in. It's saying, I understand that pain. I've been through that process for the last 10 years. And how can I ease your journey? How can I help you? We're not going to get it right all the time. And what works for me won't necessarily work for everybody else. But let's work together and find a solution so you can be happier, empower you to live a better life. That really is my goal. And I'm saying that, I started the year off with a bang. Super sick like everybody else with this viral bug, and we did everything, the ginger and turmeric teas, but the body just had to fight it. And I started off with an Ayurvedic retreat, which was something very new to me, but my body feels really good and ready to start the new year and encourage other people to really take a step and not just detox or cleanse for January, but we need to do it throughout the year. And I think encouraging people to eat well throughout the year, have your treat days, like you were saying. You want to eat that burger and the KFC. And, if you want to have it, you have that treat day. You can't deny yourself everything, or learn to make it healthier. Yeah. I think there's a psychology behind it. We need to live as well, right? So living too restrictive will not be fun for anybody.
No, but let's take a step. Let's talk about the retreat you just went to, and what was that based on, and your involvement in it, and what were its goals and intentions?
So it was something that happened off the hat, as you know, Nick, with how my life rolls. So I've been wanting to set up retreats anyway. And it was a great experience to go away, to join a team and understand the dynamics of all of that, from logistics to what the day looks like, feeding the guests, the nutrition. And my side really composed of nutrition and food. That's pretty much where I was focused on this. And I'd start off a morning sort of, the guests would start off with the yoga class and then come to me for breakfast. So something I learned was that after a yoga class, you get really hungry. I didn't know this until you try it for yourself, and you're like, okay, it's working on the digestive system. And I'd start off with I'd make different shots. So the one shot I'd have is a pure ginger juice with some honey in it. And I would change that and add charcoal, turmeric, and various adaptogens. And then I'd make a little chaser, because the ginger is quite strong, even though you put the honey in to infuse that. But we know it's good for immunity. We know it's good for digestion. And for them to have that half an hour before any fruit and vegetables with Ayurveda, you have to eat 30 minutes before you have a meal to aid the digestion. So I'd make a colon cleanse, which everybody loved. And it just tastes like really good juice, at the end of it. And then they'd have some fruit and a really good fulfilling breakfast. So protein is very important from breakfast and lunch. And then a little bit of a snack. So I'd make little health. I made like carrot cake balls, prunes and prune truffles and funny things like that. But they were good, and people were like, oh, we need a bit of a kick. In the afternoon, you want a cup of tea, but it was healthy and everybody felt good to eat it. And then at nighttime, I kind of kept it very light, soups, that kind of thing. Really nice bread, like, that we had out. I was in Portugal. So the bread out there was phenomenal. And then after that, before people went to bed, we do a golden milk, a really nice turmeric milk, to ease everybody in. It helps with inflammation, helps with sleep. There's cardamom in there, which is great for, to help you sleep as well. So everyone was really chuffed, but you came away from the day feeling no one was hungry. No one felt starved. If anything, going in from lunch to dinner, in between that, there'd still be a class too, and people felt good. So it was such a learning curve for me to understand,
Mm.
feeding people throughout a day, but making sure their nutritional requirements, making sure that we fed them according to their doshas, which this was all a new experience for me because I'd never done it before. But it works, I put myself through it, and I felt so much healthier. I arrived there feeling bloated, and, all this happening from not being able to train and, for a little while and being so ill, and then having a week of eating really good food, lots of fruit and veg, and incorporating, these little shots and things in between. It's life-changing. I think everyone came away feeling supercharged, ready to start the year and continue the process of eating well.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think it's like we always need this little kind of kickstart. Everyone talks about New Year's resolutions and how don't set yourself resolutions because you're setting yourself up for failure. But I'm a believer that we've got to keep trying. I was actually talking to it with a guest the other day. It's like, every time I lay an intention, it's like a slate on a roof, and I might not get that slate all the way to the end of the roof, but I've started and I've tried, and then I can do another intention and I lay it on top of that. Another one, and then eventually I've got a full watertight roof. But it's a process. It's a step at a time, and it's nothing that we can, but I love them. I've set myself up this year with resolutions and intentions, and I'm really, really consciously cooking food. So that's my thing. I'm just like, if I go out for a lunch or a dinner, it's with my partner, and these very rare occasions where the kids can be at school. So it's normally a lunch. And then the rest, I'm cooking my breakfast, I'm cooking my lunch, and I'm having an evening salad. So, and I feel so good in the preparation, and it's bringing me so much joy to prepare food for myself. I might not be able to get the best ingredients. I've only got a Tesco Express down the road, but I do my best to get what I can.
Pick the best. Sure.
But I'm doing a lot of animal stuff, a lot of eggs and a lot of meat and some vegetables, and it feels really good. And what I'm learning a little bit, Halima, and maybe we can go into how foods can not just make inflammations worse, but they can actually create them. And if we think about all illnesses, are basically, not all, but most illnesses come from an inflammation in our body, and then a deregulation of our systems, and things start getting knocked, and that's how illnesses come around, and our immune systems get beaten, and even worse illnesses could come around. So what are some of the things that we can do to reduce inflammation, but also prevent inflammation through diet or through eating?
3 to 4 things that I would say. 1, caffeine, sugar, gluten, and dairy. So depending where you are, and I know it's very hard, but I love my Oatly now. I stick to that. I think that's my favorite, especially the barista. So if I'm craving something and I do have a coffee, it's very hard. I don't drink it every day, but I would say eliminating coffee because the gut suffers, but it also depends where you are. For example, if I talk about an autoimmune condition for me, one of the worst ones for me is the arthritic condition. So when I'm in pain, not only does the weather influence that, but then what I eat. So if I have dairy, or I've had a high sugar content or something processed, also processed foods, completely eliminating that. Fried foods, so putting things in your oven, less oil, really being conscious, that honestly helps. But aside from that, there's supplementation that I have found works really, really well. But also your body, not only are you combating inflammation and having to take things out. So a lot of people think, oh, well, red meat, yes, absolutely. Cutting that down, processed food, your sugar, gluten, dairy, caffeine, those are all in the red light zone. And then you've got, your lentils, which are great for you. But if you overeat your lentils, that can equally trigger something. So everything in moderation. It really needs to be in moderation. And also you'll find that some people can't tolerate certain things. So for myself, I love lentils, I love grains, but the digestion problem becomes an issue. So then how do you change textures? Incorporating more fiber in your diet, drinking a lot more water, antioxidants. Glutathione is amazing. It's an amazing antioxidant. The CoQ10s, your omegas, that kind of thing will help reduce inflammation, but also help your body detox, the toxins that come through, because it's not just your gut. And I know it's a funny thing to talk about, but going to the loo is very important. And, if you're not eating food that helps you do that, your body is storing things, which then you can get the leaky gut and all of that. So that it's going into your bloodstream, causing the inflammation. So absolutely, what you eat, elimination, and it's a process, right? You can't go cold turkey. I would never recommend this with any of my clients. It's a 12-week program with me. So, everyone's got what they've got in their house. We don't want to waste food. We know about sustainability. We know about what's going on in the world. We do a pantry revamp. Start very small. Start with a pantry revamp. I know it's expensive to get supplementation, but look at it this way. Food's expensive. Everything in the world's gone up, right? But do we want to live healthier, stronger lives? Would you not invest in your health rather than getting conventional medicine? So if you think 3 or 4 supplements will help eliminate the inflammation, keep it low, and your diet, keep you healthier and stronger for longer, in remission of your condition, opposed to being sick all the time and spending more money on conventional medicine. I mean, for me, it's a no-brainer, right? It's a change. It's a shift. But we need to educate people on this and say, right, guys, where are you? Where are you in your journey? Let's work together on this. Let's do a pantry revamp. Let's try and bring in some supplementation. Let's also bring in, so what are you having on dairy? What can't you live without? Okay, we have all these substitutions. I'm not a major fan of, I would say, soya products and really processed versions of meat or mock meat. I would rather feed somebody a vegetable, cauliflower steaks, aubergine steaks. It's a personal thing, but also I find with a lot of my clients, they're like, Halima, it's so processed. It's got so much stuff in it. And I'm like, yeah, it does. So we'd rather just eat more colors on the rainbow, more cruciferous vegetables, which really help your gut, increasing your fiber. Fiber is a hard one because we don't get enough fiber in all our diets, in what we eat every day. So how do we incorporate that? Psyllium husk. Sometimes I get some of my clients to have prunes and dates and add those in. So from the start of your morning to a cereal, what are you adding in there? So let's try and incorporate fiber into those meals. So you add in some fruits that go in, some linseed, some nuts, that kind of thing. And then in your lunchtime meals, something that I learned about last year was the oat groats, which is absolutely amazing in its form. A little spoonful of that through, cook it, keep it in the fridge, incorporate that and have it as a cereal. You can make it into something savory. It really keeps you fuller for longer. The fiber content, your stomach will love you. I'm at that point where, with the gluten, it depends on where people are with their intolerances, right? So again, this is advisable with, speaking to your healthcare professional. Can I have this? Can we incorporate it? But I found with my own experience that the oat groats in small doses works miracles for me. I feel fuller for longer. It really sustains me, and I can make it sweet or savory and make fun things to be able to say, right, I'm incorporating more fiber. I'm helping my gut fight this. We're building immunity. These are super important. Also increasing your water intakes, flavor your waters to get more water into your body, because you're eating and your body's working really hard, but how are we flushing this out, right? So we need to drink more water to flush everything out. So yeah, it's quite a journey, and everyone's, without knowing what everyone's going through, that's a basic ground rule of elimination, and then incorporating some really good stuff into your diet. But it is a process. And I would say to people, don't beat yourself up, really don't beat yourself up. Take small steps. Every step, no matter how small, is progress.
Yeah, because the body is it's an amazingly resilient thing, and I think that's
absolutely.
It will react very fast, but you might not see the results. But it will also hurt itself slowly.
Yes.
Where you're eating the way I was eating, a couple of years ago, and I know I was creating trauma, like inflammations in my body that were really not serving me very well. But as you speak, I really think about food, and I think about food as a function.
Yeah.
Our bodies need it. I think about food as enjoyment, but I also think the food as a solution to some people's emotions and feelings. So comfort eating.
Comfort.
Yeah, and I really my thing like a year ago was if I had a little argument, if there was a little bit of discomfort in my life. I lived in Soho. There was 3 donut times within a 1-minute walk away from me. And I would go in, I would see what donuts there were today. And I would like get one. And then I'd think, oh, maybe I'll just get 2, and lo and behold, like I've got a couple thousand calories sitting, sugar and harmful things sitting in my body. And my partner said it. And I was like, she noticed it. I said, you know what? I said, I'm filling a hole. I get it. I know why I'm doing it. It's because I'm trying to soothe myself where I would used to maybe use alcohol. And she says, isn't it funny you're using something with a hole in it to fill something with a hole in it? And I tell that funny, story now because donuts don't have the hole in them. So let's talk about the comfort eating, because we can talk about function, we can talk about enjoyment. Our bodies are designed to enjoy food because I imagine it needs to attract the function of food. So we're designed to enjoy it, so we continue to do it, so we survive. But then there's this aspect where I still have traumas I'm working through, and I no longer have alcohol as a solution, so the donuts were. So can we talk a little bit about how food is used to help people comfort themselves?
Stress is a big factor for inflammation and everything. We know this. Stress, beyond anything, the lives we're living at the moment, hamster on a wheel, really. So comfort eating, we need to think about mindful eating. And it's something that I learned about in the last couple of years, because for me, being a chef, it was gobble and go, whatever was going. You don't swallow, you're not chewing, you're just swallowing absolutely everything. Mindful eating, but when you chew, have you noticed when people say, oh, we're going to sit in front of the TV, have some ice cream, or so when we have this jaw movement going on, it actually soothes you. It's actually a comfort, and this is why we're going comfort. So when you're actually chewing is like a comfort mechanism for your body. It kind of slows things down a little bit. It's like a stress reliever. So when you're chewing stuff, you actually like, oh yeah, you're thinking you're feeling better, you're scooping this ice cream in. But actually, if you think about mindful eating and you're like, okay, you're going to chew something, but how can we make it's food psychology. What are your go-to? So with the donut, yes, we need sugar, but can we pick something that is healthier with a natural sugar in it that would also hit that? So what I've done with some of my clients is, it's very difficult. I'm a sugar monster. I've been a complete sugar monster in my past. So I then create little snacks that I have available in the fridge. So I've created little truffles, gorgeous coconut powder. So it's cocoa powder, coconut, some with prunes, some with dates, nuts in it. I changed the flavors of it and rolled in a really dark, I preferred like dark chocolate, for example. So I'll roll them in a dark cocoa powder. So when you eat it, you feel, your body's like, oh, this feels naughty. But actually, you're feeding your body something better than processed sugar. So I find that you have to plan your meals and your snacks. It's very important. And it's not always that easy because lives are so busy. But if you take one day of a week and you think, okay, how do I want to make these changes? I think people also have to want to make that decision. Nick, this is very important, because you can tell people how good or bad things are or coping mechanisms, but unless people actually make the effort to say, I'm going to take one day out, I'm going to get some help or support to plan my meals for the week, plan my snacks. So instead of going for that donut, you might have something in your purse that will be like, oh, I've actually got a snack in here, and I'm going to reach for that. So it's being conscious. And it's also a shift in paradigm of, yes, I want to eat better, and being conscious of, I've seen that donut and I understand exactly what you're saying. Walking past it, but then I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I've just done an amazing body cleanse. Why do I want to put that into my body? Right? So being accountable to somebody is also another great way. Of having the mindfulness in there. So being mindful of what you're putting into your body. How does it make you feel? If you can chew on something else that is healthier for you and still give you that stress relief and make you feel, oh, I feel, I'm feeling better, why would you not choose that? Right?
Yeah, no, that's well said. And even on a deeper level, and I don't want to get too deep into it, but there are people, and maybe I was even one of them, with unresolved traumas, things
Yep,
that needed to work out, that
definitely.
where the eating the food was a symptom of a deeper problem,
Yes.
and where, I needed other help other than just, looking at myself and my diet, people to talk to work through these
Yes.
unresolved, even childhood things. So, for, I think, and that's the hard thing, is that, deeply with me, alcohol was the solution for so many years. And then when
Mm,
the alcohol wasn't there, if there wasn't me working my recovery very well, then there was a donut. So now I do imagine people who have the same traumas that I had, who
yeah.
don't use alcohol as a coping mechanism, but because society says go for as many donuts as you want, there's no shun towards
Yeah.
food. And I really feel for people, who have, eating disorders, and where food is a solution to it, or a symptom, eating food is a symptom
Yeah.
to deeper problems. So I think we should always kind of point that out, that there are services out there, if people are hearing
Definitely.
this
I think
and they're
so.
like, oh,
It's
yeah,
important.
yeah,
I mean, Nick,
yeah.
I'm completely transparent with my journey. I have a health coach. I have a dietitian that is especially for the gastro side of things, where I struggle with digestion. So I have people I'm accountable to. And I tell you,
Mm,
working with a coach, because I've had the steroids, which made me put on weight, and then in turn, exactly like you, comfort food. And without understanding, and until someone pointed it out to me and said, "Do you realize that by chewing?" And this is when I think I was doing a breath course and learning to, tone down the parasympathetic and learning to breathe throughout the day to help my digestion, stress levels. There's so much resource out there.
mm,
And your mental health, you need to think that this affects you mentally. It's a big part. So people aren't happy with their bodies. Yes, food's expensive, supplementation, but how can we rein that in? And it's a process. But having
mm.
people that you can talk to, there are services, and I think the struggle we're having is, our health services right now are so inundated with people. It's so busy that a lot of us coming into the wellness careers are wanting to help that and say, there's people like us out there that will jump on a call with you for 30 minutes and help
Mm.
guide you, you know. And I would rather offer that support. I'm actually looking to do a bit more community work and saying whether it's a couple of hours a month, to actually create a group where we can get together, support community, create community. People
Mm,
have different struggles, but it's such an empowering tool to have people in a room share their struggles, they feel supported, and how do
mm,
we work together to get that next goal? So is it obesity we're dealing with? Right, we're in there. Where are we? Let's get on the scales together. This is where we are today. What is the program we can work through together? And that everyone can connect and reach out and be honest and know that all of us are struggling with something. Everyone has a struggle,
mm,
you know. Some of us have conditions, and just because you can't see it, it doesn't mean we don't feel it. So we look healthy to you on the outside, but you don't realize
mm.
what's going on in the inside. So
Through,
opening up these,
through,
sorry, Nick.
through your journey, sorry to interrupt, but I'm wondering, through
Sure.
your journey, did you find there were other things that you needed to work through other than the physical
Yes.
things that you found? Were there
Yes.
other things that kind of came out and go, oh, wow, I didn't really realize that happened to me
Yes.
maybe when I was a kid, or a teacher said that to
Trauma.
me or something? Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So,
Emotional abuse, trauma, also being in the chefing industry, in hospitality, the abuse and everything through there, sexual harassment at work, you name it. As a woman, I've faced a lot of different challenges, and it's been really difficult. So you get body dysmorphia, you start feeling like you're not good enough, imposter syndrome, and all those
mm,
things add up. And to be fair, when my condition started, it is about 10, 12 years ago now, we didn't know what it was. I was working 90-hour weeks on a cruise ship, and my body eventually broke down and I was medically disembarked. But there was so much that led up to that. The pressure of the work I was involved in, the hours I was doing, the external pressure from colleagues, etc., looking a certain way, being a certain way. It's too much. And when you're not happy within yourself, I think I've been on the last 3 years since COVID, I've been on my own voyage of discovery. And I can't reinforce this enough. Working on yourself is the most important thing. When you're happy with where you are, health at every size is another thing I learned about. So just because someone's super thin or someone's super big and you think, oh, they're obese, it doesn't mean that they're overeating. You know, that could be one thing, but people actually have conditions that make them look the way they do. So we need to stop that judgment and stigma. We need to work on that and actually be more compassionate and kind and think, what is that person going through? How can I support them through that? So I would say one thing I've really learned, especially with colitis, that when I've been doing research on it, a lot of it is trauma and stress. It's all related to that. And then you add the food in. When I was completely junk food, I mean, American diet was my favorite thing, right? Sugar, sweets, candy, everything, donuts, everything unhealthy. And I'm a chef, so I wanted to eat absolutely everything, taste it all. But yeah, 10 years in, you understand what it's doing to your body. So, and I'm not saying that every now and again I don't reach out for that chocolate bar, but I'm trying to make better decisions of which chocolate I eat, the quality of things that I eat. And yes, there's a sneaky day here and there. We're human, right? But being conscious is super important. Dealing with stuff, anger, resentment, people in relationships. I mean, I have friends that their marriages have ended over COVID because of certain things, and the stress that's impacted on their bodies and the struggles they're having, weight gain, all kinds of things, the cortisol levels. It's been so interesting to see. But then reaching out and speaking and creating a safe space for people is also something that is so invaluable. You know, it's super, I can't tell you how I'm so blessed to have some incredible people from, I've also had a lot of intuitive healing. I have an incredible friend who's a healer and doing a lot of work, which actually on this weekend, I'm working on past trauma. It's funny enough, we speak about that, on trauma and karma and things that have happened in my past life. And as a child, to combat and come across, well, why, what is it that triggers me still? You know, because we have triggers, right? Everybody has a trigger, but it's finding out, what is that trigger? Why am I feeling that? And how can I process that to then move on? Because that also releases your body. Your body releases things. You're like, oh, okay, I've released something. I can move forward. And you feel better within yourself. So yes, psychologically, emotionally, it's a big part. And then you add the food element in. It's, for me, it's mind, body, spirit, all of it. You know, the food, the healing, the support you get is, it's all comes together in one toolkit, definitely.
I think one of the worst assets that humans have developed is the ability to bury things in our bodies, you know, like emotions, thoughts, traumas, things that have happened to us. And Dr. Gabor Mate, who's a specialist in trauma in Canada, and he says, you know, a trauma isn't what happened to you, it's what happened to your body as a result of what happened to you. Yeah. And it's these traumas that create inflammations and deregulations in the polyvagal nervous system. And all of a sudden, we're just not functioning as we can. And then all of a sudden, we go to university, we meet someone, we get married, we have kids, we go to work, we have all these things. And there's these traumas underneath, and we just put another trauma on top of it and another trauma, and we bury it and we bury it and we bury it. And we wonder why, you know, the health system is so stressed out with people with regards to, you know, alcohol use, drug use, you know, food disorders, food use. I don't want to call it a disorder. Food use is a way to help people. So these are all symptoms of traumas. And I think, again, the thing with food is it's the easy one that nobody will notice. And you run down to the corner shop and get a chocolate bar and shove it down your face because you had a fight with your boss. You know, when really you're going, your body, you need to, and I love the awakening. I love the movement of healers that are out there to say, hey, we can come, let's hold your hand and let's heal, you know, because the healing needs to happen. And I like what you said, everyone has had something happen to them and no one has said, do you want to heal? And everyone's like, what do you mean heal? I'm fine, you know, and you're going, are you really?
But then, I mean, Nick, you know what I stand for in mental health as well. So, you know, you know about the Burn Chef Project and what I do with them, and it's life changing, you know, and we see that it's not just for chefs, it's for everyone in, you know, hospitality, but also teaching people coping mechanisms has been one thing as we speak about that. Like you said, the coping mechanism, oh, I'm going to go and get that candy bar. But why don't we teach people how to cope with that better? So yes, I'm feeling stressed right now. What can I do about it? Right. You know, you lose focus, don't you? Let's teach people coping to go back in. Let's breathe it out, stop, refocus, right? And they work. It does work. I mean, I'm here sitting here talking to you. I mean, this wouldn't, if you saw me 3-4 years ago, I was a complete mess. So, but I've been open to learning new things. I've gone through CBT therapy, which it cannot just emphasize how important cognitive behavioral therapy is and how much it helped me. I was like most in the beginning. Oh, I'm sitting through this, and you're twiddling your thumbs and you're playing and you're really not interested. At the end of 20 sessions, I was in tears because I had to let go of my therapist.
Yeah.
The amount of work. So it takes work, it takes effort, but aren't you worth it? Right?
Oh, everything I say is it takes time. There's no we took 50 years to get into this place. It's not going to take us 50 years to get out. That's me. I'm 51. It took me 15 years of drinking to get where I got to. It's going to take me 15 years of healing to get to a point where I probably can breathe a little bit easier. And I'm not there yet. I'm in a constant state of healing. And I'm not ashamed to say it. I'm not ashamed to say that things happened to me. I saw things. I'm happy to be healing. And I'm happy to hold other people to the point where they go, hey, do you know what? Maybe I need some healing as well. So let's talk about the Burnt Chef project.
Sure.
You mentioned that. Please tell us what it is again.
I was just going to say, Nick, before I start that, with what you said being so important, being transparent and open, I have found, and I think you and I have connected so well and had so many deep conversations, right? And I think by us being honest about where we are, our journeys, we encourage other people to open up, right? This is a big thing. So well done. And I mean, we just have to keep doing what we can to encourage other people to join that journey. The Burnt Chef project is a big love of my life. We are a social enterprise working to eradicate mental health stigma within hospitality. We are not, it's called the Burnt Chef, but it's not just for chefs. It's for everybody in the hospitality industry, from your GMs right down to KP. Everybody. We have training, we teach people some coping mechanisms, we constantly evaluate. So we've got modules on menopause, understanding women at work, suicide prevention. We have a helpline that people can call. We go out and we educate at colleges. I've actually got 2 presentations coming up in a couple of weeks where we go to colleges, we speak about mental health, we educate the young ones coming in to say, this is what you've got coming through, but we want to let you know that there is support that we never had. This is a new thing. So we have ambassadors in, I think it's 122 different countries. We have about 70,000 downloads on a podcast that people can listen to with some amazing people. We are constantly looking to improve things, to create more awareness. That's a very big thing for us. And also just educating people and saying, you know what, check in on your people. We have a big system. So we have chief ambassadors and we have ambassadors. So chiefs, we head of regions, we have other people, other ambassadors underneath us, and we do check-ins. So how are you doing this week? How's everybody coping this week? A simple question, right? Because we know that this is January. We know it's slow. We know hospitality has been so hard hit. Even though we had Christmas and New Year, a lot of people still struggle. Financially, they've worked more hours. They have to do 2 jobs just to pay the bills right now, right? Because we're an industry that's been so undervalued, underappreciated, and underpaid for so long. So the Burnt Chef project gives people a sense of belonging. One, they're a family to me, right? I mean, one of our ambassadors next week is doing a dinner for us to all meet up together, to break bread together, to have community and to raise funds so that we can educate people more, we can create more learning material, we can go into institutions and businesses and educate people on how to look after their teams, feed your people, give them breaks, look at having mental health first aid training. We have first aid training. Why would you not have mental health first aid training? Because people struggle. There's a struggle throughout. You don't know. I've had to work with some girls that were self-harming, understanding what that is, understanding why do they do that? What is it? They don't want to hurt other people, so they hurt themselves. But how can you be understanding, educating managers and leaders? This is our next big thing in the project, is making sure that our leadership is trained well, is compassionate, is understanding, and creates a safe space so that their teams can be nourished and looked after on all levels. because when you look after your teams, they will look after you, right? Productivity. 4 out of 5 people in hospitality will say they've had a mental health issue. It's a large number. It's a massive number. I've been involved in, I've had a couple of calls come in last year where I didn't know who they were, but I had to rescue someone because they were about to take their life. So I had to send an ambulance for them. These are the things that we do as a community. We don't, it's not a paid job. We do it because we love it and because we want to help, and we genuinely want to see the industry change. If we think about MasterChef and you look at the pressure and you look at all these cooking programs, even there's this new one in the States, actually, I think it's Pressure Cooker or something. And you kind of, get to people and say, what's going on? People are suffering. Do we need to put ourselves under that much pressure? But how can we actually accept people for who they are, help them through those struggles, give them coping mechanisms, and make this a stronger and more viable industry? So it's a pretty amazing space to be in, and I think it's an exciting journey to be on as well, to see how the impact we're making within the industry and around. It's something that's so close to my heart. I lost my brother to suicide, so for me it's one of those things where if I can help somebody else, if I can show them that there's help and support and it's okay to not be okay, and we can support you through what we can find ways to help you. And as ambassadors, we are basically there to signpost you to help. So be it whatever therapy, whatever professional you need to see, we are there to help you get the right help that you need to get you to a better place. That's our job, really.
Yeah, and it all starts with, I think, that self-awareness around the individual has, like we've talked about, this idea of identifying an awareness in self that is I'm not quite right. Yeah. And being able to reach out for help is hard unless you've got a community. So you need to have awareness, and you need community around you, because healing on your own is a real struggle. Don't actually know if it's possible. We need that community around us. And Halima, one thing that you said that's so important, because we always say huge campaigns that go on, it's good to talk, reach out, talk.
Yeah.
But it's so much more important to reach out to others, and I always say, we need to be conscious of the people that we talk to in life. When you ask them how they're doing, they're like, my life is great, I got no worries. I always kind of take a mental note of that person, and I'm like, a few days later, I'll make a phone call and I'll be like, are you really okay, man? How you doing? And you can kind of get into, buddy, actually, no,
Yeah, exactly.
And I think this is, and I think that's what's so beautiful about the Burnt Chef Project, is that you've got a community that look after one another.
Yes.
It isn't just a thing of me asking for help. No. It's that other people, which is so important. It's one of the most vital steps, being able to ask for help, but feeling comfortable enough to ask for help in a community is what you guys are doing. And I think it's absolutely beautiful. So
it's so powerful, Nick. I mean, we had our first gala dinner last year. We've had some amazing sponsorship, and we're always looking for people to support, because we can't do the work we can without the support of communities. But I can't tell you that after having an amazing dinner, we're raising money for charity, also celebrating who we were and what we've done, where we've come. We all stayed at this hotel, and the evening was over, but a lot of us ended up ordering pizza and Prosecco and beers and sitting in the lobby and just talking. And this is the same thing that's going to happen next weekend, where a lot of us are part of this project. We've never really physically met. We speak on Zooms, we have WhatsApps, we have groups, we have, support systems in place, but actually having dinner together, enjoying each other's company, and just sitting and talking, right? I can't tell you how powerful that is for all of us. And it's 3 a.m, and we're just sitting there enjoying each other's company, having a laugh, and it's about nothing particular, but it's just us being together. I mean, 2 of us felt like kids at uni again. We're messing each other in our hotel rooms, going, "Are you still awake? Well, come to mine. We're going to order pizza," right? This is the community we have at the Burnt Chef Project. We are brotherhood and a sisterhood, and it's so exciting. I'm so excited to see where we go this year. So many new things, happening. So yeah, I just can't emphasize enough how you know, having a supportive community around you makes the world of a difference. You know, if I'm having a bad day, I have so many people, and it's not always easy. Let me say this first, that I have 100 million people in my phone. When you are struggling, it is not easy to know which number to pick up, even though you know people are there for you. It's not always easy to think, because you're like, oh, people have their stuff. I don't want to be a burden, right? And this is coming from personal experience, that we have loads of people in our phones, but who do we call? And sometimes you just want to talk to somebody that is not in your network, someone that doesn't know your name or anything about you. And we have this, we have a helpline for that. So you can talk anonymously, you can just speak and, you know, process what you're going through. So it's super exciting. You know, we've never had all these things. And I think a lot more companies and businesses are becoming more aware of how important, you know, mental health and wellness in the workplace is. You know, I don't know if you know the book Leader is a Healer, Nick. It's become one of my Bibles. Nicholas Yanni is an amazing man. I've met him, read his book, and he's actually created as a virtual space, almost like a temple space that you can go into to reflect and just be. It's pretty amazing what's coming out there. So you're not alone, and there's so much help out there. There are people willing to help you and support you through things. So don't be afraid to reach out. This is what I want to say. Don't be afraid, because you might be upset today, but tomorrow it's my turn, right? So we need to hold each other's hands and be kind. If anything, be kind and ask twice. How are you? No. How are you really? And the second or third time you ask is probably when they're actually going to, you know, actually relate that, you know what, actually this is going on. So
always find us the third.
Exactly. It's always that, but never stop asking, you know, just even now, you know, whatever it is, whether it's work, whether it's friends, I would always suggest just, you know, send a message. Hey, just checking in on you today. Is everything okay? Because we know it's January. We know it's tough for a lot of people. We know that the world has become so expensive. We've got wars going on. There's so much happening. It's just saying, hey, you know, and it feels great that someone's checking in to just say, how are you doing today? Is anything, do you need to chat about anything? Or just say, I'm here if you need me, right? It's huge. It's a big thing.
It is. And it's a big thing that we'll end this chat on today. We've run out of time.
No worries. It always goes so quickly with you.
It always does. I can't thank you enough for your time today and your beautiful wisdom and your beautiful energy. And we will, I know I spoke with Diana at the Elephant and Castle community about you, and maybe we could do a coffee and cakes afternoon. And we'll figure that out in the new year. Well, we are in the new year. We'll figure it out now. Because I think, some community around there would be great, and your input and your presence would be beautiful. So
absolutely,
thank you so much for joining me. Have a great new year.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We'll probably
have you on again in a few months' time, just for another catch up, because you're amazing. And thanks everybody for joining me. Don't forget to join me next Tuesday we'll have another amazing guest. I think we're going to be talking about meditation next week, which is going to be really cool. So make sure you join us. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you all later. Bye for now.